You want the truth. You want the absolute, unvarnished, terrifying truth that you have been running from every single morning for the last 5 years. Fine. Let's put it on the table. Let's rip the bandage off right now, because the infection underneath is killing you, and you are too polite to scream. You're not just stressed about money. You are not just tight this month. You are living in a solitary confinement cell that you built with your own hands, brick by invisible brick, receipt by receipt, silence by silence. You are completely, utterly, devastatingly alone. Or at least, that is what the voice in your head tells you every time the sun goes down. You walk through your life wearing a mask that is so heavy it is starting to crack the bones in your face. You walk into your office, you walk into your church, you walk into your family gatherings, and you perform. You are the Oscar-winning actor of your own tragedy. You smile when you're supposed to smile. You laugh at the jokes about inflation as if it's just an annoyance and not a guillotine hanging over your neck. You nod when people talk about their vacations, their new cars, their investments, while inside your stomach is twisting into a knot so tight it makes you want to vomit. You have become a master of the "I'm fine. I'm good. Just busy." But you're not busy. You are drowning. You are drowning in a sea of numbers that don't add up, in interest rates that eat your future while you sleep, in a shame so profound that it makes you want to disappear into the drywall of your own home. And the worst part? The absolute worst part isn't the debt itself. It isn't the collections calls that you send straight to voicemail with a shaking hand. It isn't the red envelopes that you shove into a drawer without opening, because if you don't see them, they aren't real, right? No. The worst part is the isolation. The belief, the absolute certainty that you are the only one. That everyone else has figured out the secret code to adulthood and you miss the memo. That everyone else is competent, successful, and blessed, while you are a fraud who is one paycheck away from being exposed. You look at Instagram, you look at Facebook, and you see the highlight reels of the world. You see the dinners, the trips, the blessed hashtags, and you feel a cold, hard stone of envy and self-hatred settle in your gut. You think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? Why am I the failure? You have convinced yourself that your financial struggle is a moral leprosy. In America, we don't just treat poverty as a misfortune. We treat it as a sin. We treat debt as a character flaw. If you have debt, the culture says you are lazy. You are stupid. You are undisciplined. You are unworthy. And you have swallowed that lie whole. You have let it poison your blood. So you hide. You pull away from your friends because you can't afford the appetizers. You pull away from your family because you're terrified they'll ask how work is going. You pull away from your spouse because you can't bear to see the worry in their eyes that mirrors your own. You pull away from God because you feel like you've disappointed Him, like you've squandered the talents He gave you, and now you are unworthy to even ask for help. But here's the thing you missed. Here is the reality that has been sitting in the corner of the room while you cried into your pillow. You're not alone. You have never been alone. Not for 1 second. Not on the bank line, not in the car, not in the dark. Mary has been watching you. She has been there, standing quietly in the shadows of your panic. She saw the exact moment your spirit broke. She saw the Tuesday afternoon when you looked at your checking account balance in the parking lot of the grocery store and felt your heart stop beating for a second. She saw the tears you wiped away aggressively before you walked into the house, so your kids wouldn't see. She saw the way you stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., doing math in your head, calculating, recalculating, bargaining, begging for a miracle that never seems to come. She saw the silent panic attack you had in the bathroom stall at work, splashing cold water on your face, staring at yourself in the mirror and whispering, "Pull it together. Just pull it together." She sees it all, and she is not looking at you with the judgment of a bank manager. She is not looking at you with the disappointment of a parent. She is looking at you with the fierce, protective, heartbreaking gaze of a mother who knows exactly what it means to be terrified for the future of her family. You have sanitized Mary. The world has turned her into a porcelain doll that sits on a shelf, untouched by the grime and grit of real life. You think she lives in a cloud of incense and roses. You think she doesn't understand the visceral terror of not having enough. But you are wrong. You are dead wrong. Let's strip away the gold paint and look at the woman. Let's look at the girl from Nazareth. Do you think she had a safety net? Do you think she had a savings account? She was a teenager in an occupied territory, living under the boot of the Roman Empire, engaged to a carpenter, a day laborer. And then, the pregnancy, the scandal, the shame. Before Jesus was even born, Mary knew what it felt like to be the subject of gossip. She knew what it felt like to walk through the market and feel the eyes of the neighbors burning into her back. She knew the isolation of being that girl. She knew what it was like to be misunderstood, to be judged, to be looked down upon by the righteous people of her town. She knows the sting of social shame better than you ever will. And then Bethlehem. We sing songs about it. We make it sound cozy. Silent night, right? But think about the reality. Think about the desperation of Joseph, a man charged with protecting the Son of God, failing to find a room, failing to provide a bed, failing, by every human standard, to secure a safe place for his wife to give birth. Do you think there wasn't panic in his eyes? Do you think Mary didn't feel the cold wind of poverty biting at her skin? She gave birth in a stable, a cave for animals. It smelled of manure and dirt. It was unsanitary. It was dangerous. It was the absolute bottom of the social ladder. The King of Kings was born into homelessness. Mary held the creator of the universe in her arms, and she didn't even have a cradle. She knows what it means to have nothing but trust. She knows what it feels like when the world shuts its doors in your face because you don't have the money to pay for entry. And then the flight to Egypt. This is where Mary becomes the patron saint of your anxiety. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. Your husband tells you, "We have to leave. Now, they're coming to kill the baby." You pack what you can carry. You leave your home. You leave your family. You leave your community. You run. You become a refugee. You cross a desert into a foreign land where you don't speak the language, where you have no job, no friends, no status. You are an immigrant with a target on your back. How do they survive? How did they eat? How do they pay for shelter? The Bible doesn't say, but we know the reality of refugee life. It is a daily grind of uncertainty. It is a constant, low-level hum of fear. Will we make it? Will we be found? Will we starve? Mary lived inside that fear for years. She raised the Son of God while living paycheck to paycheck, or whatever the ancient equivalent was. She knows the texture of your stress. She knows the specific frequency of the vibration in your hands when you open a bill you can't pay. She isn't watching you from a distance. She is watching you from experience. She is watching you replay the same terrifying scenarios in your head, and she is stepping closer, trying to get your attention, trying to break the trance of your fear. She sees you scrolling through your phone, looking for a distraction, looking for a dopamine hit to numb the pain. You buy something you don't need, a coffee, a gadget, a subscription, just to feel a moment of control, just to feel like a normal person who participates in the economy. And then, 10 minutes later, the guilt crashes down on you like a tidal wave. You hate yourself for spending that $10. You berate yourself. You call yourself an idiot. Mary sees that cycle. She sees the self-flagellation, and she wants to grab your hands and stop you from hitting yourself. She wants to cup your face and say, "Stop. Stop hating yourself. The money is the problem, but your worth is not the problem. Your soul is not in debt. Your spirit is not bankrupt. Stop confusing your net worth with your human dignity. You have turned your debt into an idol. Yes, an idol. You worship it with your worry. You give it your first thought in the morning and your last thought at night. You sacrifice your peace, your sleep, and your joy on the altar of your financial fear. You have made money your god, not because you love it, but because you fear it. And whatever you fear the most, that is your master. Mary is watching you serve this cruel master, and she is heartbroken. She knows that you were created for freedom, not for this slavery of the mind. She sees you walking around like a prisoner in chains, but the chains are made of paper statements and credit scores. She watches the way you treat your family. You snap at your kids because you're stressed about the electric bill, but they don't know that. They just think you're angry. They think they did something wrong. You withdraw from your spouse because you're ashamed to admit you haven't figured it out yet. So you create distance to hide the truth. You are letting the debt steal the only things that actually matter. You are letting the numbers on a screen dismantle the love in your home. Mary sees this tragedy unfolding in slow motion. She stands in your kitchen while you cook dinner with a heavy heart. She sits in the passenger seat while you drive to work, gripping the steering wheel until your knuckles are white. She is screaming in the silence. Don't let the thief take this too. He has your money. Don't let him have your love. Don't let him have your family. Why do you think she is watching? Is it to judge you? No. She is watching because she is waiting for you to invite her in. You see, you have locked the door. You have put up a do not disturb sign on your misery. You think you have to fix this alone. You think, I got myself into this mess. I have to get myself out. That is the American way, isn't it? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Rugged individualism. But in the kingdom of heaven, that is nonsense. In the kingdom of heaven, we carry each other's burdens. In the kingdom of heaven, we admit we are weak so that he can be strong. Mary is waiting for you to stop being the hero of your own disaster movie. She is waiting for you to collapse. Yes, collapse. She wants you to stop holding it all together. She wants you to fall apart, but to fall apart into her arms, not into the void. She wants you to admit, I can't do this. It's too much. I'm scared. I'm lost. Because the moment you admit that, the moment you surrender the illusion of control, is the moment grace can enter the room. As long as you are gripping the wheel with a death grip, God can't drive. As long as you are obsessing over every penny with a spirit of fear, you are blocking the spirit of providence. Think of the wedding at Cana. This is the ultimate proof that Mary cares about your worldly problems. The wine ran out. Now, to you, that might sound like a party foul. But in that culture, running out of wine at a wedding was a financial and social catastrophe. It meant the family was too poor to provide. It meant shame that would last for a generation. It was a debt of honor they couldn't pay. Who noticed? Mary noticed. She saw the panic in the eyes of the servants. She saw the humiliation coming toward the bride and groom like a freight train. And she didn't say, well, they should have budgeted better. She didn't say, this is a spiritual lesson for them. No, she went to work. She intervened. She went to Jesus and said, they have no wine. She is doing the same for you, right now, in the middle of your mess. She is looking at your empty bank account. She is looking at your maxed out cards. She is looking at your empty pantry. And she is turning to her son, the King of the universe. And she is saying, they have no peace. They have no resources. They have no hope left. She is advocating for you before you even have the strength to pray for yourself. She is the mother of the perpetual help, not the mother of the help yourself. But notice what she did next at Cana. She turned to the servants and said, do whatever he tells you. That is the catch. That is the part you are afraid of. Because whatever he tells you might be hard. It might mean cutting up the cards. It might mean selling the car that you love but can't afford. It might mean having the humble, humiliating conversation with your creditors. It might mean admitting to your spouse exactly how bad it is. It might mean filing for bankruptcy and swallowing your pride. Do whatever he tells you. Mary is watching you, and she is urging you to take the action that fear is preventing you from taking. She knows that the miracle is on the other side of the obedience. The water didn't turn into wine while it was sitting in the jar. It turned into wine when they drew it out and served it. It turned into wine in the act of faith. You're sitting there staring at your water, your limited resources, your pathetic paycheck, and you are crying because it's not wine. And Mary is saying, move, do the work, trust, make the call, open the envelope, face the truth, draw the water. You feel alone because you're keeping secrets. Secrets are the currency of the devil. He buys your soul with them. He convinces you that if anyone knew the truth, they would reject you. But Mary is the mother of truth. She knows everything, and she rejects nothing of you. She loves you through the debt. She loves you through the mistake. She loves you through the failure. She is the Stabat Mater, the mother who stands. She stood at the foot of the cross when everyone else fled. She stood in the darkness. She stood in the despair. She stood when it looked like evil had won, when it looked like God had failed, when it looked like there was no future. And she is standing next to you now, in your debt, in your personal crucifixion. She is not running away. She is not covering her eyes. She is standing there, solid as a rock, radiating a quiet strength that says, this is not the end. Your debt is not your tomb. It feels like a tomb. It's dark like a tomb. It's cold like a tomb. But with Jesus, tombs are just waiting rooms for resurrection. You have to believe that. You have to let that truth crack the shell of your cynicism. Mary is watching over you not to supervise your accounting, but to supervise your soul. She is guarding your heart from despair. She is fighting off the demons of suicide that whisper to people when the financial pressure gets too high. She is standing between you and the abyss. So, here's what you need to do. Tonight, when the house is quiet and the panic starts to rise, when the silent panic comes to choke you, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to visualize the room you are in, and I want you to visualize her standing in the corner. Not a statue, a real woman, a Middle Eastern mother with work-worn hands and eyes that have seen empires crumble. See her looking at you. Feel the weight of her love. It is heavier than your debt. It is more real than your fear. Talk to her. Break the silence. You don't need a fancy prayer. You don't need Latin. You just need the truth. Say out loud, Mary, I am drowning. I am scared. I don't know what to do. Help me. The moment you speak those words, the isolation shatters. The wall you built comes down. You're no longer a prisoner of your own secret. You are a child calling for your mother, and a mother always answers. She might not drop a bag of gold on your doorstep tomorrow morning. That's fairy tale stuff. But she will drop courage into your heart. She will drop clarity into your mind. She will bring you a peace that makes no sense, a peace that defies the mathematics of your situation. She will give you the strength to face the bills without trembling. She will give you the humility to ask for help from others. She will guide you to the resources you didn't see because you were blinded by tears. She's been watching over you all this time, waiting for you to stop looking at the problem and start looking at the promise. You're not defined by what you owe. You are defined by who owns you. You belong to God. You are the child of a king and the child of a queen. This debt is a season. It is a valley. It is a storm. But it is not your home. Your home is in the refuge of her mantle. So hide there. Let her cover you. Let her take the invoice from your hand and replace it with a rosary or a sword or a shovel, whatever tool you need to dig your way out. But do not sit in the dark alone anymore. The darkness is a lie. The loneliness is a lie. The silence is a lie. Mary is here. She is awake. She is watching. And she loves you more than you love your own comfort. She loves you enough to walk with you through the fire until you come out the other side, refined, stronger, and free. You're going to get through this, not because you are clever and not because you're lucky, but because you're not alone. Look up. She's right there. Breathe and begin again.